evening and thank you for joining us. The owner of Thunder Bay's Hampton Inn and Suites is proposing to build another chain hotel on the same site, and the future of that hotel will be decided at City Council tomorrow night. Applicant Mario Fliglumini is bringing forward a zoning amendment for the new 90-room facility to be built on the vacant piece of land adjacent to the existing Hampton Inn. He will be requesting to build the hotel with a higher density than what is currently allowed and asking for a reduction in the required parking spaces in the area. Evacuees from Nescantica First Nation have been given the all-clear to return home. Community members will start heading back tomorrow after being evacuated for more than a week due to problems with their water system. Testing from water samples collected earlier this week indicate that all required conditions have been met to guarantee that the drinking water supply is acceptable. The Do Not Consume Water Advisory has been lifted and the Boil Water Advisory has been reinstated. There are more than 200 evacuees here in the city, and arrangements have been made to send evacuees home, with the first flight returning to the First Nation Monday morning. The Canadian Union of Public Hospitals is predicting provincial funding cuts to Thunder Bay area hospitals will climb to over $55 million by 2024. President of Ontario Council of Hospital Unions, Michael Hurley, noted the 2019 April budget saw a 1% increase toward hospitals, but a substantial portion went toward the latest contract settlement with Ontario physicians. Hurley says the budget just simply can't keep up.
Budget increase for hospitals, but hospitals' operating costs, which are increased by the costs of the drugs that are provided free to all the inpatients, going up over 10% a year. Doctors' salaries up over 6% this year. Medical technology is being expensive. Their real operating costs are actually over 4%. So they're receiving a net budget cut of 3% this year.
It has to be an increase in the funding to long-term care, to hospitals, to home care, to all healthcare services in Ontario has to be increased.
Hurley worries that over 80 beds and nearly 500 members of staff will be cut over 5 years when population growth and aging are factored in. It's been 3 years since the demolition of the Tembec Mill in Marathon, effectively marking the end of that community's pulp and paper production. Since then, the site has been completely cleaned up, and now city officials are looking to bring in some new business to town. As Adam Riley reports, there are still some hurdles to jump over before that can fully happen.
The town of Marathon is inching closer to a full takeover of the former Tembec Mill property, and in doing so, closer to bringing new economic activity to the community. But before that can happen, Mayor Rick Dumas says the town must go to court, but not to fight for control of the property.
We'll go to court in October, and basically the MOZ has approved it, Tembec's approved it, the town of Marathon's approved it. The court will just kind of commission it and say this is a done deal. So until that date, we can't do much, but after that date, we will then take ownership of the mill property proper.
The delay in the transfer of the property stems from monitoring of pollution levels on the site, which are now considered within acceptable parameters. Marathon CAO Daryl Skorczynski says once the property is transferred to the township, the plan is to develop a business park with multiple businesses located on the property.
Specifically, we're interested in things like, renewable type businesses. We'd love to see another forestry operation there. But one of the other ones we've been exploring with our partners down the highway in Beektagong First Nation is, the potential for an aquaculture project, and looking at the potential of rainbow trout coming out of Lake Superior.
However, before the rainbow trout farm could be constructed and go into production, Dumas says there are some environmental hurdles that need to be passed.
To look at how we can go and actually put up some test cages and some aerators in the harbor along Carden Cove and test this with the ice and the movement of water and the temperatures of water with the aerating devices to see how that all takes effect and see if there's any impact on the cages, the systems, and see how the lake treats all this.
Skorczynski says once the municipality has control of the site, the town can really control its own destiny, meaning forestry and aquaculture are not the only options, as an idea previously pitched could make a comeback.
One of the things we have looked at previously and that I think will probably come back around again is the potential to use Lake Superior for things like deep water cooling, in terms of data storage. We have probably the biggest air conditioner in the world just outside our door.
Discussions have also taken place with other companies, but Dumas was unable to provide any details as to who or what those companies could bring to Marathon. Adam Riley, TBT News.
The director of a reconciliation-based nonprofit was in the city this past week to discuss racism in northwestern Ontario. He spoke at Brody Library and asked young Indigenous people how they overcome the obstacles they face. Alana Pickrell has the details.
Max Finday is best known for his work as the executive director of the Canadian Roots Exchange, a community of Indigenous and non-Indigenous youth committed to building honest and equitable relationships. His panel discussion at the Brody Library asked the youth of Thunder Bay to build an honest relationship with their own community.
It can be hard sometimes to be an Indigenous person living in this country. 75% of Indigenous young people are optimistic that they'll see reconciliation in their lifetime. About 68% of non-Indigenous young people feel the same way. So we know that there's this incredible optimism. We need to tap into that.
Depending on your background, where you come from, and for you to just sit there and listen, I think we'll take away different things, but hopefully we can use those things to contribute in creating change in Thunder Bay.
Today I will seek to reconcile. Today I will extend my hand to Canada.
The event included a panel of Indigenous speakers to give their own perspective of overcoming racism and how local youth can care for themselves as well as others.
I just want them to have more of an open mind and like I said, just try to be able to understand people more, but also like gain a little bit of knowledge on what people here have to share, and maybe their views will shift and it could actually create some change.
Welcome to the territory, hope things are good for you here. Try to communicate with them even beyond just the gatherings that they are, so they have somebody there that's from this area that can help them out if they needed to. I like to try to be there as best as I can.
Finday says he hopes interactive events like these will help create the next generation of youth leaders who understand how to change their own communities for the better. Alana Pickrell, TBT News.
The magical world of Harry Potter is coming this fall, thanks to a new fundraiser hosted by the Canadian Cancer Society. On November 23rd, the Urban Abbey will be transformed into Hogwarts, giving fans of all ages a chance to have a true magical experience. There are only 200 tickets available with 50 seats per house. The Cancer Society is hoping to raise $15,000 during the event, which will go towards local services and cancer research. There will be themed beverages and food throughout the night, but that's not where the Harry Potter experience will end.
Have a potions class going on. We're doing donations per house, so we're going to try and do whoever can raise the most money per table. There's going to be a House Cup prize for that specific table. There's going to be live entertainment, so we're hoping to get some improv actors to act as some of the Harry Potter characters and sit at the head table. We're also looking to have dancers come in and kind of perform the Harry Potter entrance dance that you can see in one of the movies.
Tickets go on sale on the morning of September 27th on a first-come, first-served basis. And while Harry Potter fans will have to wait until November to experience the magic, fans of other movies and books got the chance to geek out early. ThunderCon wrapped up another successful year today, with the convention doubling in size over the past 5 years. Tyler Kelleher has more on the event's rise in popularity.
Fans roared into ThunderCon to indulge in the world of comics, movies, and pop culture.
We are the Klingons. How do you spell that? In English or in Klingon?
Originally opened at the Valhalla Inn for its first 4 years, the convention moved to the CLE, and everyone agrees it's made a world of a difference.
The Valhalla, it was great, but it seemed very squished.
We started off on a one-day event just to test the waters, see how it was going to go, and it's just grown leaps and bounds.
I don't think we thought that it would be this big. Like we never thought that we would outgrow Valhalla. It started off, we were a one-day event, and I think we had maybe 5 or 6 vendors, and we were struggling to fill up the hall and everything, to now where we had to move to the CLE just because we needed more space.
Headlining this year's guest list is one of the most recognizable TV villains of this decade. Cast as the original Night King of the award-winning HBO series Game of Thrones, Actor Richard Brake says Thunder Bay's comic convention stands out from the rest.
Some cons are I know, and struggling to get people, and this one just seems to be absolutely booming. There was a line out the door yesterday of people trying to get the tickets to get in. The cosplay is probably some of the best I've seen.
To get an actor of Richard Brake's caliber, especially just coming off of the phenomenon that was Game of Thrones, that's something that most smaller conventions don't have access to.
Brake was sure to spend plenty of time with his fans before leaving for London. And when asked if he'd come back to ThunderCon,
If they want me back, hopefully, I'd love to come back at some point.
Tyler Kelleher, TBT News.
You know, ThunderCon, always exciting, always seeing those costumes, the ones that we saw there. So fun. Would you dress up in cosplay if you had the opportunity?
Not even a shadow of a chance, no. But it's pretty cool to see the Night King in attendance. That's a big thrill for a lot of Game of Thrones fans. I love the show myself. So.
Exactly, me too.
Well, stay tuned. We'll have your sports highlights coming up after the break. Don't go anywhere.